If you thought the story was crazy before with this 6-year-old who went into the classroom and was on the school campus seemingly all day long, showing his friends and other kids that he had a gun, threatening people, this 6-year-old was, threatening people with said gun, and then going back into the classroom and eventually shooting his teacher, somehow it got even more wild. And we have talked about this, Sabrina and C-Lane, a couple of times on the show, and we've mentioned that this is something where the leadership of the school, they knew, they were made aware that something was going. Yeah, multiple times they were made aware that there was a danger, a clear and present danger on this campus for this teacher. And we knew, obviously, that a 6-year-old that would do this had some major issues, but this makes it way worse to me.
Oh, great.
This is the warrant that they've just released in the case about this 6-year-old. He, because he's 6, gets away scot-free. Nothing happens to him. His mother has been charged because she didn't properly store her firearm, according to these police. But wait till you hear this. Let's check this out together. It's right in front of me, so everybody can see it. On January 6, 2023, at approximately 2 o'clock, Communications received a call in reference to a shooting at Rich Neck Elementary in room number 11. At 14:04 hours, sheriff's deputies and police officers responded to room 11, so it only took them 4 minutes to get out there, which is pretty good. They responded to this room 11, and they observed a member of school personnel, later identified as Amy Kovac, restraining a 6-year-old child. And they said officers found a loaded 9mm lying on the floor of the classroom and eventually collected a 9mm cartridge casing on the floor near the handgun. A book bag was also found in the classroom and was identified as belonging to the young boy. The book bag is black and white checkered with images of sharks all over it. The book bag also has his initials written on it in black ink. It's so weird, the juxtaposition of the firearm and like this little kid book bag, you know, sharks and stuff on it. And it just, man, it's wild. And
it's like decorating the gun, you know?
Yeah. It's weird to hear that. And also, when the cops got into the classroom, they're saying that the teacher was still struggling with this 6-year-old. Like,
after being shot by him.
I guess so. It says when they went in,
that's nuts.
They saw the member of the school personnel, later identified as Amy Kovac, restraining a 6-year-old child. So she was still restraining this 6-year-old at the time that they arrived.
Mind you, and with that, after being shot, restraining the child, you have also a classroom of kids who are freaking out.
Yeah.
I can't imagine there was an 8 in there, right?
Which she was able to get the kids out of the classroom because this woman is a hero. And even though she was shot, because this says, responding officers also located the victim, Abigail Zwerner, in the school office, suffering from a gunshot wound to the left hand and upper torso. So this is the teacher that actually got shot here. School staff were providing first aid until officers and medics arrived. This is the part where things start to get weird. Detectives interviewed the Rich Neck school reading specialist, Amy Kovac, on the scene. Ms. Kovac stated prior to the shooting, she received information from 2 students in classroom number 11 that this student had a gun in his book bag. So they knew about this, and she told people about this. While the classroom went to recess, Ms. Kovac and a school administrator searched the book bag but did not find the gun. So that's new information.
But it coincides with the information that he had brought it out to recess, showed kids, and it was in his pocket.
Yep.
They told him, and they're like, no, his pockets are too small for his age to have a gun in there.
The administrator was told that he showed it to another student, and they refused to let the teachers search his pockets where they were pretty sure that he had this, and they could have stopped this. Continues. Ms. Kovac stated after the class returned from recess, she heard a gunshot come from room number 11 as she was walking by. Several children ran out of classroom 11 past Ms. Kovac. The teacher assigned to room 11, Abigail Zwerner, also ran past Ms. Kovac, and Ms. Kovac observed that Ms. Zwerner was bleeding from her hand and her upper torso. Ms. Kovac entered classroom number 11 and observed the 6-year-old standing by his desk, and a firearm was lying on the floor near him. Ms. Kovac grabbed the child and held him in place until police arrived. While she was restraining the 6-year-old, get this, all right? While she was restraining the 6-year-old, he made statements like, quote, "I shot that bitch dead."
The 6-year-old?
The 6-year-old said this.
Jesus, man.
While they were waiting for the cops. And he said, quote, "I did it." And another quote, I got my mom's gun last night. This is a 6-year-old kid who was saying this. The victim, Abigail Zwerner, was interviewed at the hospital and stated she walked with her class back to the classroom after recess, and the class was broken up into reading groups. She observed the 6-year-old standing by his desk. He then pulled a firearm out of his jacket pocket and pointed it at the teacher. She said, "What are you doing with that?" He paused and then fired one shot.
So wait, the administration said his pockets were too small for a gun, but he's got a jacket?
Yeah, he's got a jacket on at the time.
Cool.
And they said, no, don't even bother looking. Why look? He's teeny tiny. He can't possibly have a gun in there. So he fired the shot that struck her in her left hand and upper torso. Miss Werner ran for the room to the school office where she received medical attention and was transported to the hospital shortly after. Just wild to hear what was actually going on in that classroom. But he's 6.
Right.
He's 6.
So what happens though? Like, I know he's not going to juvie, not being charged. But
Nothing happens.
There's not. So it goes back to school.
He just, I don't think he can go, I don't think he can go back to that school.
He's not required to have some sort of like therapy, a checkup.
I think shooting your teacher is grounds for expulsion.
Yeah, I think they get him out of the school.
But he goes to another school?
I think he might go to another school because if you're 6 years old, and saying this stuff and doing this
and
stuff.
then goes into the system because it's just his mom, right?
Yeah, and his mom now is facing these charges of bringing the weapon to
man.
school. You know, what do you do? What do you do in a situation like this? Let us know what you think should be done with this 6-year-old. Is it just a terrible situation that you don't have a proper response to, or should something actually be done? Let us know. Go over to thenewsjunkie.com, hit record on your first dispatch right now. But man, the idea that he said, I shot that bitch dead. At 6 years old, would you ever think to even say that?
No.
No way. My
When I was
God.
6, I was like, I didn't even want to curse. I got mad at other kids for cursing.
When I was 6, I was in
Lame.
I know. Trust me.
I was in such a different headspace than anything like this. Like, I wouldn't ever even think about anything violent or, my dad had a shotgun while growing up, but it was never a thing. Like, we didn't talk about that, or guns weren't prominent in my life. And it's just so wild to hear.